Tony Hawk's 3+4 isn't happening since the breakup of Vicarious Visions. To discuss this a little bit more, I brought on my good friend TC, who's one of the biggest Tony Hawk's Pro Skater fans that I know. So we're just here to discuss it.
Yeah, that's cool. We can get into this.
You brought this to my attention today, but apparently it's not relatively new news. It's like a month old now.
Yeah, I mean, it took me a bit by surprise because after the success of 1+2, I think everyone was kind of looking forward to this, and I was kind of taken aback by it, really.
I mean, part of it kind of makes sense to me, especially 4, because come Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, they kind of leaned a little bit further into this kind of jackass side of stuff. So I don't know how that works from a licensing standpoint.
They did. What happened as well is that the format of 2 minutes, they kind of run through the level, and they went for like it was that you had to go and find people, do the challenges. It was more. They made it a more open world with no time limit.
Yeah. So this obviously the game was set to be released, and Tony Hawk himself is the one that's kind of come out and said that it's not happening. They've even tried to find other developers to make it, but since Vicarious Visions no longer exists, after it's been folded into Activision Blizzard a little bit further and kind of helping out on the development of Diablo 4 that's coming out later on this year and stuff like that. Obviously, it's a bit disappointing, but I suppose the question comes now is, do you think that this is the last? Does that mean 1+2 will be the last ever Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game? Or do you think we're going to see something of it in the future?
Oh, I certainly hope it's not the last. I mean, it showed that there was obviously a keen fan base that really wanted some of the kind of classic golden age of Tony Hawk.
Well, it's a very unique sort of style of game when you compare it to the other skateboarding games that are currently available. We've got Skate that's on its way at the moment. Skate 4, which has just been named Skate, it's going to be free to play. So that's an EA game, so that's just going to be full of loot boxes and microtransactions. Then you've got Skater XL, which was built by a bunch of fans of like skate and stuff looking for something new. That's pretty fun, but again, it's kind of very indie, very low key. And then the other one that we've got is Session, which is probably my favorite out of all of those because it uses real life environments such as New York, where you can go to real life skate spots that some of which have been destroyed since the conception of the game. So you get to skate. So like they're classic, like really, really classic real life skate spots that mattered in America at the time, and they're just not there anymore. So to see them continued in like this digital space, it's also probably the hardest of the 3 games. But yeah, Tony Hawk's always simplified it. You had very much like A to Ollie and stuff like that. So there is definitely a market for that, especially for like younger children.
Oh, definitely, absolutely. I think that obviously the way that Tony Hawk's the direction it went, they tried to bring it back after like American Wasteland. They tried to bring it back to being a little bit more pure, and then it kind of went on a terrible kind of path after that. It just couldn't recover.
I disagree. I really liked Project 8.
Yeah, Project 8 went back to the basics, wasn't it, more than anything, and it had that open world and that.
I loved Project 8, and my favorite thing about Project 8 was like the kind of nail a trick thing that they had going. If that game,
no one else could figure out.
If that game was playable now on the Xbox One, I would probably like it through backwards compatible. I would probably still play it, but I'm assuming it's not due to music licensing.
That's probably the main thing. Yeah.
That being said, my fingers are crossed that upon the Microsoft Activision deal going through, that we might see some more of those like classic games being made back compatible and then playable via the Xbox, especially via Games Pass.
It would be nice, but I wouldn't hold my breath because I think that having to go through all this licensing, you're also factoring in even branded stuff that's in the game. It's probably so much of a headache that probably that's where the realm of remakes is probably the way to go. Because I mean, if you can relicense music, great. If not, you get a replacement. And that's what we noticed actually in 1+2 was that they did have some of the old songs returning, which was fantastic. But they also introduced like a few new kind of tunes in that, which was maybe for kind of newer gamers getting into it. Same, like obviously more current skaters getting added in.
Yeah, but they also dropped some of the older skaters as well. Maybe some of the ones with less favourable reputation.
Yeah, definitely. And that, I would imagine that if they were to have pulled the trigger with 3+4, I wouldn't imagine Bam Margera would be making an appearance, obviously, with the situation he's been in the past few years and that.
Yeah, but he also became so pivotal to the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater franchise that he almost became the franchise.
Yeah, it was in the kind of zeitgeist of that time where obviously we know with like MTV and like Jackass and the spin-off shows like Viva La Bam, it was very popular at the time. So it was good marketing because it's taking advantage of something that's very current. That's why I personally I think that they could never, if they couldn't do like a Fug 1+2, it simply wouldn't work because those two games, especially Fug 2, it's very kind of wacky and out there. You know, it was fun at the time, but I don't think it would age too well with a younger demographic. It wouldn't be kind of relevant.
Yeah, driving around Moscow and grinding on random tanks kind of seems like it's
well, yeah, maybe not. Definitely not now.
Definitely something that might be frowned upon in today's climates. So yeah. Anyway, I think that kind of sums up my thoughts on it. Anyway, you got anything else you need to add, or would like to add?
If they were to do, obviously with 3 and 4 off the table, what kind of Tony Hawk game would you like to see come out? What if they were to remake or go for a sequel? What would you like to see?
I'd maybe drop the Tony Hawk's title. I'm not gonna lie. He's a bit of a legend, but at the same time, he's no longer the skateboarder kind of icon that he used to be. There's many like kind of younger guys that have come up since then, and quite frankly, like sort of insert pro's name, such and such, whatever they did. So like Kelly Skaters, surfing, Matt Hoffman's BMX, even Madden's NFL, kind of dropping the names of these kind of people just kind of makes sense to me now, especially now that gaming has become so much more kind of mainstream.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see the style of Tony Hawk's come back, the original style, maybe some kind of modern takes on it. But at the same time, like it's just to give me my yin against my yang when I compare it to like Skate and Session and games like that. You know, games that go for the hyper realistic stuff. Sometimes it's just really nice. I seem to remember Konami even got into the skateboarding game at one point with their
yeah.
I want to call it Pro Evolution Skateboarding or something like that.
Yeah, it was like Evolution Skateboarding.
Yeah, which yeah. It also had a little Metal Gear Solid spin-off, so there you go. But yeah, no, I'd like to see that stuff come back. I have seen that there's a new game coming out. I can't remember what it was called, and I'm not gonna look it up just now. But there's like a kind of like weird gun game that's coming out at the moment where like you're on roller skates and you do tricks, but you're also like playing team deathmatch. So like you're shooting each other, and you get points for like getting kills while you're in the air while doing tricks.
Oh god, that's like roller derby on, on something. If you
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of like Jet Set Radio, but with guns. I don't know. Either way, yeah, I'm getting off topic. Yeah, I'd love to see Tony Hawk's come back. Hopefully, after the Microsoft Activision deal has gone through, things like Vicarious Visions, although they might have been disbanded or folded in, maybe we'll get to see a little bit more of them standing out and a little bit more kind of passion projects coming back. Microsoft's really good at having a hands-off approach. So yeah, maybe just off the kind of look of it all, we'll get to see some of these games come back. Crash Bandicoot, and things like Spyro and Tony Hawk's. All of these games, there's a passionate fan base out there waiting for them, and there's passionate developers that want to work on them. It's just that someone in Activision said no. And with things like Games Pass now giving them such a massive audience, and 1+2 is going to hit Games Pass as soon as this Activision deal's up. So that's going to bring in a bunch of new people playing those kind of games, and it might even find its entire new fan base.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Anyway, we'll call it there.
Yeah, man.
Thank you very much for coming on, TC. Hopefully we'll see you again soon. And for everybody else, I have been Peeve. You guys have been awesome. And until the next one,